Forget frequently asked questions,
common sense, common knowledge, or Google.
How about advice from a real genius? 95% of people in any profession are good enough to be qualified and licensed. 5%
go above and beyond.
They become very good at what they do, but only
0.1%
are real geniuses. Richard Jacobs has made it his life's mission to find them for you. He hunts down and interviews geniuses in every field: sleep science, cancer, stem cells, ketogenic diets, and more. Here come the geniuses. This is the Finding Genius Podcast
with Richard Jacobs.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Finding Genius Podcast. I have Kristen Lawson. She's the VP of Marketing and Ecommerce at GreenTech Environmental. And we're going to talk about a new air purification method they have that uses what's called active radiant catalysis, ARC. And this may have some, beneficial impacts for coronavirus and many other applications, but they'll let us know about that. So, Kristen, thanks for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, tell me about this technology. How was it conceived and developed, and what's the thoughts on what it will be used for?
Sure. So our active radiant catalysis, or ARC for short, basically replicates what nature does when thunderstorms happen and lightning charges oxygen molecules. So our technology is the same thing that's been used by NASA for decades. And what we've done is package it in easy to plug and use portable units for people's homes and offices, as well as our commercial grade applications, which can be installed in air duct systems and ventilation, ice machines, all kinds of things. And basically,
cool.
The technology charges the oxygen particles to create a safe cleansing ozone, and the ozone goes out into the room, basically hunts down the bad guys like a cat chases down a mouse, and a process of deactivating the airborne pathogens, bacteria, viruses, mold, and even volatile organic compounds. They revert back to oxygen, and there's several different processes that are happening that are super scientific, but for, it's really just the same thing that's happening in nature all around us outside with UV light and charged oxygen.
Oh, very cool. I've smelled ozone before. It's probably too high a concentration, but I know it can, at high concentrations or certain concentrations, it's an irritant. So I would guess this puts out like a very low continuous level of ozone, or?
Yes, and then we do have some away modes that you can kick it up a notch and let it be used in an unoccupied space. And then after 30 minutes, ozone has a half-life of 30 minutes. So it's going to reduce by half after it's already gone out and done its job.
Okay. So these I don't know, they like air wicks, in home use. You plug them in various spots in your home, and then they continuously emit a bit of ozone and clean the air.
Yeah, and they're scalable as well. Some of our largest home unit covers up to 3,000 square feet, and then they kind of go down from there to 1,500, 500, 50 square feet, and each model has different scalable options. So you can control the amount of ozone that's being put out, or you can turn it off completely and just use the ionization, which is another part of our technology that charges, puts out positive ions that charge and drop the bad stuff out of your breathing space and make them heavier to fall to the ground.
So what do people notice when they're in the presence of one? Is it reduced smell, or is the air lighter? Like what do people say anecdotally?
Well, definitely. I mean, if you're a cook and you're cooking bacon, that's one of those lingering odors that happens and can fill up your entire house. And we've had people in all kinds of customer reviews where they can smell a noticeable difference in eliminating odors from litter boxes, as well as allergens with any kind of pet dander. That we have a wearable air purifier that people who are highly allergic or sensitive to smoke or other smells, they're able to create a safe breathing bubble around them and able to enjoy living with others, or heavy perfumes. That's another one that people have mentioned that they can tell a noticeable difference.
I've experienced all these things, so I know what you mean. Yeah.
Right.
So, is there a metric that you want to get a space to, especially in commercial applications, like, I don't know, clarity of the air or like parts per million of some substance, NOx, SOx, whatever it is? Like, how do you know that the room has been improved by using the device?
Sure. So there are different kinds of measurement tools that you can use, and they're really popular abroad, and they're kind of just popping up here domestically as indoor air quality is becoming more and more popular here in our country. But there are different devices that you can use to measure the amount of ozone being produced or measure the amount of particulates in the room. And that's kind of what the lab studies also show about our technology is they measure the parts per million, whether that's mold growing in a petri dish to actual feline calcivirus and being eliminated and other viruses being significantly reduced, such as Salmonella and E. coli. The laboratory testing all shows that the efficacy of this science and technology.
Any thought to repurposing this for, spaces that are afraid of coronavirus? Do you think it would have any impact on the quality of a room,
Oh, goodness.
air, or the surfaces?
Definitely. Feline calcivirus is a known surrogate to the coronavirus. And unfortunately, any of the lab testing that's been done has not been tested specifically on the coronavirus. But where we have the known surrogate, FCV, that being proven to be effective, we feel confident that it adds another layer of protection and things that people can do to feel safer within their indoor air quality. The safest place is probably outdoors with the UV light and nature's purifying powers, but certain spaces like classrooms and hospitals, restaurants, and depending on the time of the year, you can't have that fresh air that you need. So you need to replicate what nature has already done. And that's where our active air purifiers come in. And they really are different than passive air filtration devices that are really popular in the marketplace. And that's kind of where we're trying to get the word out and help educate people about the difference between the two.
Yeah, I know with passive air filters, they get clogged, the efficiency goes down. Maybe in some cases they collect the very thing you don't want to have in the air. But this system, I guess, things drop where they're hit. So
yeah, that's the analogy that we like to use too, is that passive air filters are more like the mouse trap that sits in the corner of the room that waits for the mouse to come to it and then also just kind of sits there dead, right? and lingers. But our filters are like the cat that goes out in the room and chases down the mouse, hunts it, kills it, eats it, it's gone.
Well, when you run these in a room, can you see any difference? Like on the floor? Like, do you ever see like particulate matter on the floor, or it's not nearly enough to cause an effect like that?
Well, when you see dust flying around when the sunbeams shine through a window, if anything, you do see a noticeable difference in your breathing space, not having those particles floating around. And they've become heavier and they've fallen to the ground when it comes to pet dander and dust. But when it comes to, the things we can't see, such as viruses and other pathogens and harmful bacteria, I've noticed a noticeable difference in my refrigerator, for instance. And that is where produce lasts a lot longer. The fuzz that you typically see on raspberries and strawberries, and it's just not there. And it really ends up saving a lot of money in food waste as well. But out in the room, unless you did a white glove test or a black light test, some of our customers have actually been investing in this magic dust where you can come back around and see the difference with a black light on a surface that's been treated versus a surface that hasn't.
So do you put one in your refrigerator? You mean like the stuff in your refrigerator lasts longer, or out on the counter?
Yeah, in the refrigerator. So we have a little refrigerator purifier that works to keep staph, E. coli, and mold and bacteria from growing in your refrigerator. So you see a noticeable difference in, much less the odors from garlicky takeout boxes, but the fruit, the fresh produce, lasts longer with the cleansing ozone.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. For commercial applications, has it become the standard for any type of industry yet where they have to have this stuff to, keep particular levels or other contaminants to a minimum?
Yes, we're noticing a huge uptick in the schools. We're seeing the same amount of rush to people buying our products just that we did back in March when the pandemic first hit. We've been just trying to keep up with the demand at this point. And with the back to schools, there a lot of the school systems are requiring them to do something, or if it's not them, it's the parents and the PTA requiring them to get something in these classrooms before the cold weather hits, and that they can't just have the windows open to keep fresh air coming through. So, but beyond the school systems, we've also seen restaurants being able to reopen, and it's been part of the whole reintegration story of people finding us, and everybody from doctor's office, lawyer's office, dentist's office, to, you name it. If people need clean air, they're giving our products a shot at helping stay open.
Well, that's really cool. So so the ozone preferentially targets what, and then the ionized air preferentially targets what?
So cleansing ozone is just one of the active oxidative particles that come out of our air purifiers. Another one is H2O2, which is a gaseous form of hydrogen peroxide. And that's the one that most people are familiar with as well. But so as they come out into the room, they actively seek out harmful particulates. And in the process of coming in contact with them, they actually break down the cell wall and render them inactive. And so we call that killing the bad guys. And then it reverts back to O2 in a 30-minute half-life. And then the ionization gets those particles that aren't necessarily invisible and microscopic, but they're the pet dander, the dust, the other indoor air quality issues that charges them and makes them heavier to fall out of your breathing space. So it's kind of a double whammy.
And how long do these devices last? I mean, is there any maintenance you have to do on them, and do they run out at a certain point?
It kind of just depends on how much pollution you have indoors. If you have a greenhouse, for instance, and we have customers who are using our products to help reduce mold and that can kill an entire crop, depending on the where they're at with the moisture and the humidity. Same thing in a residence in Florida. Someone might have to service their unit more often to keep it functioning properly. And we sell those replacement parts, and all of our products are available on our website at GreenTechENV.com. But the commercial products actually they're built to only require annual servicing, which is another key differentiator for us in the market, where some of our competitors maybe think that they require a lot more service to stay operating at full, maximum capacity. But the residential products, they're easy to clean, easy to maintain. We have the videos to show you how to do that, as well as every product comes with an instruction manual that walks you through how to do that. And then the replacement parts are affordable. And it all just kind of boils down to how dirty is your space and how often are you using it. If you're running it at maximum capacity, it could be monthly or could be bi-monthly or even annually. But our commercial products are all annually.
Yeah, and I would think if you have existing filters in a facility or in your house, the filters would probably clog slower, because this has helped taking the pressure off the filters a bit, right?
Yeah, and we do recommend that the residential unit to be kind of placed opposite of where your intake is for your HVAC register, so that it has the opportunity to pull all of the air throughout your home before it, as it's traveling to that HVAC register and your induct filters. So like right now, mine is sitting on top of my refrigerator, and that's kind of catty corner across the main living area from where the intake is. for the HVAC system. And that allows the air in the room to circulate and all of these particles. But as they get pulled in to the ductwork, it's actually recirculating back in like a big, a circle throughout the rest of the duct systems. And then the purification is being pushed throughout the rest of the home.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
So what have you noticed? You talked about your produce, but what about sleeping, breathing, just, hanging out in your house? Have you noticed, less headaches or a difference in how you feel, or what have you noticed?
We've definitely seen a reduction in any kind of pet allergies. And that I have two bunnies and a cat and a dog, and when we're home, the hair can accumulate. But I've noticed there's less things floating around in our breathing space. And then as well as we've had some mold issues out, away, we live in a damp section in the country. And I've noticed that the mold that I was having to clean, like along the windowsills or that was creeping in, that stopped completely. So I've noticed a definite difference between the mold and the pet dander. But the smells is one of the things that I really enjoy too, having it here in the kitchen. Anything I'm cooking isn't going to stink out the house in an open kind of floor plan. And then bathroom smells, that kind of goes without saying. You can see a big difference in there too.
Oh, so it works well to reduce smell as well?
Oh, yeah. Any kind of indoor air quality pollution, this is going to be the solution.
Okay. Any improvements coming? Any changes, for the next year or so? Or it's working well and now the goal is to just sell as many as you can? Or
sure.
What's changing?
No. Oh, yeah. Well, as we've been installing things and selling to, we've helped over thousands of classrooms at this point. But the common thing that we keep hearing from our customers is the need to have smart technology to where they can actually see, it's monitoring the room's pollution as well as being able to communicate with their phone versus having a separate remote control, having it to be able to control through an app in their phone. So we're aggressively working towards making that happen next year, as well as a few other new models, some more portable units that are rechargeable and don't require a wall outlet. And what else are we doing? We're working on. Please,
can you install them on airplanes, like millions of them?
That is another commercial application that we have had success with in airplanes, cruise ships, as well as the buses, like travel coach buses. Those are the things and the customers that we've had for over a decade. This stuff isn't really new for GreenTech. It's just new for us to come out as more than just a manufacturer of this technology. This is the first time we've really branded it ourselves and are encouraging people to educate themselves about that, everything that we're putting out there. And until then, it was mostly a white label, and our customers were the ones taking these products to market.
Okay. Well, very good. What's the best way for people to find out more and to get a unit for commercial home space? Where can they go?
Well, all of our products are available on our website, and as well as the product specifications and some educational videos. So they can go to greentechenv.com, and I highly recommend to take that time and educate themselves and watch our videos too that shows kind of this invisible technology and how it works. Sometimes that helps people connect the dots when they can see how it's working in a visual way.
Okay, very good. So GreenTech ENV, that's the best thing to look up. Okay.
Yep.
Well, excellent. Well, Kristen, anything else I should have asked you about the products that I missed?
No, I thank you for having us on here.
Yeah. No, that's great. I'm glad that you guys are doing this. A lot of people are indoors, unfortunately, even more of the time now. So if they have bad air to breathe, they're going to have all kinds of problems. It's good what you're doing.
Sure. Well, and as we come up on the colder months too, more and more of us will be forced indoors, and we won't have the benefit of fresh air. So, with modern technology, why not try and harness the power of nature in your own home and in your office space or wherever you go, and just try and have another peace of mind. We always encourage people to wear masks and follow CDC guidelines. But if you can just take that extra step and improve your indoor air quality, why not?
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, Richard. I appreciate you having me.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
You've been listening to the Finding Genius podcast with Richard Jacobs. If you like what you hear, be sure to review and subscribe to the Finding Genius podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And want to be smarter than everybody else? Become a premium member at findinggeniuspodcast.com. This podcast is for information only. No advice of any kind is being given. Any action you take or don't take as a result of listening is your sole responsibility. Consult professionals when advice is needed.